I'm tired. Not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix. The kind of tired that settles into your bones. The kind of tired that follows you into the next day and the day after that. Every morning, millions of people wake up already exhausted. Some drag themselves to jobs they barely tolerate. Others wake up to rejection emails, unanswered applications, and another day of uncertainty. And despite living in the most technologically advanced age in human history, more and more people feel like they're running out of options. We were told that if we studied hard, worked hard, and followed the rules, things would eventually work out. But for many people, that promise is starting to feel hollow. Something isn't right. And whether you're employed, unemployed, rich, poor, young, or old, I think you can feel it too. Something is changing, and most people aren't paying attention. I'm drained. And I can see that you're drained. And I know you can see it in your neighbor too, holding on to their last ounce of energy. I no longer know what I'm clinging to. I wake up every morning and go to work. I stay there all day. My only free time is at night and on weekends. But even my free time doesn't seem free at all. My nights are mostly for sleep, for restoring enough energy to make it through the next workday. My weekends are spent preparing for the coming week. Then, before I know it, another month has passed. And just like that, another year is gone. At least that's the story for those who still have jobs. But to nobody's surprise, many people have been laid off recently, and I happen to be one of them. I've been searching for another opportunity ever since, but I haven't had any luck. Being laid off feels like a death sentence these days. I remember 5 years ago when people used to say that graduates could easily find employment through internships. But that ship had already sailed before I graduated. I knocked on countless doors that I believed held opportunities for me, and don't get me wrong, most of those doors were wide open. But I quickly learned that I wasn't welcome. Those doors weren't actually left open for me. And yes, you guessed correctly, they were left open for people with connections. But lately, even those connections seem to be losing their signal. Once you're laid off, you're often forgotten. To be honest, it's nobody's fault that things have come to this. There are simply too few businesses and companies capable of employing everyone. If there's anyone to blame, perhaps we can blame the system. Yes, we can blame the system for being broken, for allowing a few people to have everything while the masses struggle. Or can we? Is it really the system's fault? Or is it our greed, our selfishness? Knowing human nature, I'd say that question hits close to home for many of us. Hear me out. People create systems, and systems only exist because people accept and participate in them. We've had countless wars throughout history. Many were started by people who wanted to impose their systems on others, and we can't forget slavery. People traveled across the world enslaving others who already had their own ways of life, their own systems, and their own communities. I know what you're thinking. So we can blame the enslavers then? To be honest, yes, but only partly. The other half of the blame belongs to the rest of us. How, you might ask? Because knowingly or unknowingly, many of us are still participating in the very systems we criticize. Maybe that still sounds unclear. So let me give you an example. If you were given a choice between your life and someone else's, most people would choose their own. That's human nature, and that's where part of the responsibility falls on us. But don't worry, we all make mistakes. What matters is whether we learn from them. Because honestly, I believe this system is reaching its limits, and those who built it seem determined to create another one before the current one collapses. Which raises an important question. What kind of system are they creating next? I think you already know the answer. The last time powerful people sat down to design a system, this is what they gave us. And now, as this one struggles to survive, they're preparing its replacement. I can only imagine what kind of child this dying system will give birth to. If I remember correctly, Christ spoke about birth pains. The beginning is painful, but what follows can be even more significant. Maybe all the stress we're experiencing today, the stress from work, the stress from unemployment, the poverty around us, Maybe these are only the beginning of the birth pains, because the real challenge comes after the child is born. When a baby arrives, everyone celebrates. The parents celebrate, the neighbors celebrate, gifts are exchanged, hope fills the room. But the celebration doesn't last forever, because the baby must be fed, and someone has to provide that energy. So if we're going to survive what's coming, we need to start building our own future now. We need to create our own systems, our own communities, our own opportunities, because if we don't, our energy will be spent feeding someone else's newborn system, just as it always has been.
I have a dream, but I have no energy. I have a dream, but I have no energy. I had a goal when I had the energy. It was the only thing that gave me the courage. As naive as I was, I trusted the system, because it was the only thing that was taught to me. But now I have no choice but to unlearn everything and start over.